Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Very not smart. So there we go. Welcome into the Computer America show. We are off to a rough start. So welcome into the program. A lot of things going on in the world today, like I mentioned. And let's see. But we're here to talk about some of the most important ones, including a couple about computer games, some about Nintendo, some about a lot of different topics. And to join us is one of our favorite correspondents, Mr. Nathan Evans from Popzara. And Popzara, by the way, they are a great publication. Definitely go check them out, and we have a link to them in the show notes. And speaking of the show notes, let's get a couple of things out of the way, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything and anything for today's show, be that a link to any stories to talk about, be that any products, videos, anything and everything will be right there at computeramerica.com. And while you're there, be sure to check out the live streaming video. And on top of that, check out the social media contest, which, by the way, we will be having a prize later on in the program. I think after the middle of the break, one lucky listener is going to have their name read live on the air, and we're going to get in touch with them and get their prize out to them. That prize being a great device from Logitech. So with all that said, why don't we go ahead and just jump right into this let's go ahead and jump right into this with, again, Popzara, Nathan Evans, managing editor. And Nathan, how you been?
Introductory laudits you give me as though I'm some sort of New York Times editor, Pulitzer Prize winning. I just want to let you know, even if I was all those things, I'd still be here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. That's flattering, and you are important. You actually help us with a lot of coverage here on the program, and all of your accolades, well deserved. So I'm not fluffing you up. It's an actual service that you do here for the show.
Fluffing is the wrong word to be using in this context, people. Sorry, do not look it up. Do not look it up.
All right, yeah, let's not. Puffing you up.
There we go.
All right, there we go. So with that being said, welcome into the program. And yeah, like I said, lots of different topics. Before we get into that, just a quick preview, just so people understand, kind of what your role is. Talk about Popzara real quick and, what it is that you guys set out to do there.
Well, change the world, as Madonna once said. No, in the short term, it's to provide a completely independent, completely unique experience when it comes to covering, managing, and talking about pop culture things. Specifically, all the bases are covered: video games, movies, books, a little bit of politics, but increasingly less so on that. A little bit of this. People say it's a bazaar of culture at Popzara. It kind of rhymes. Iambic pandemically, not so much, but it rhymes enough. And so I must say, just so we're clear here, this is the first times we've done this where you and I are on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to give a little shout out to Twitch. So it's interesting because if I put you on full screen, it's like you're my wallpaper. It's like if anybody listening wants to make Ben at Computer America their computer wallpaper, go on Twitch. It's very, very weird.
And it's something that I think we're going to try to drive the show more towards. I mean, we're still, of course, radio. You can still listen to us live on IRN. We still have the podcast, which is just the 1 hour show, wherever podcasts are found. And we still do all of that stuff. But at the same time, I feel like Twitch, maybe not Twitch itself, but the idea of streaming and being interactive, accessible, that kind of thing. I really feel like that's the future of entertainment.
Yes, of
Radio's been
course.
around for so long, and admittedly, TV did not kill radio. Admittedly, one format does not completely kill another, but you see some wax and wane, and I think streaming is definitely going to be on the uptick for quite a while.
I'm against video as a general principle because I'm hideous, but I want to say it's interesting. So I'm looking at your stream where you're showing the website. Thank you by the way.
Hmm.
But where else are you going to find a website that has a review for the new Avengers: Infinity War, sitting comfortably in the same space as a review for the original Grease and Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Tell me, Ben. Tell me where are you going to
It's
find that?
it's a very special mix, and I saw that. And by the way, the thumbnail that you use for the Killer Clowns from Space, very disturbing. Almost as disturbing as the original movie. I remember watching that a long time ago.
Have you watched the movie? Did you watch it?
I did with the cotton candy cocoons and stuff like that. Yeah.
I see my editor Chris Mitchell had never seen it before, and they sent him a. I don't think the movie exists in 4K,
Hmm.
but what a fun movie, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
what a high concept film that would never get made today.
It was so cheesy, but I think it's just what it called for. It was taking itself not serious, but at the same time, it was a horror flick, and it was a lot of fun. And by the way, Craig's right in the chat room. You're not hideous, but we'll never know that because, of course, you are joining us via Skype. So, but with that being said, yes, we're on Twitch. We highly recommend everyone go check it out. And there's gonna be fun little games that you can do and stuff like that. Kind of as we go, you get to talk with other people listening to the program, and hey, it's just a lot of fun. So in the meantime, we are going to go ahead and move on to some of the relevant news. And this is one that I feel like before the show, you mentioned that it was a rather slow news week, and I think that was almost perfectly captured by the thought that the Snapchat spectacles were dominating headlines all week long and buried the true lead, which was Nintendo, and the fact that they're doing so well. So before we get into actually, the Snap spectacles, let's talk about Nintendo. And I think Popzara, I think the gaming community in general, there's a lot of love for Nintendo, but as far as investors go, there were a rough few years there, but that seems to be, kind of on the other way. So what's this first one? Nintendo puts the Switch into the hands of Famicom-Generation president.
Okay, so when we talk about this, let me just give a little disclosure. So every month on Popzara, a mutual friend, yours and I, Corey Gallagher, and I talk about the retail numbers for relative growth of the video game industry in America.
Mm-hmm.
We call the NPD. And I want to say, because of our own little glitch, it's not on, but in about an hour or so, we're going to have a new episode. So please, anybody listening, you can listen to the new episode there. And what we talk about is how well Nintendo's doing. And the fact of the matter is Nintendo's doing gangbusters. And they're doing so extraordinarily well that it's what we're looking at, Ben, is a repeat of 10 years ago when the Wii was out, the original Wii, when every month it was Nintendo overwhelming the competition all the time. And like you said, that was great until it wasn't. And eventually Nintendo stumbled with the release of the successor, the Wii U. And I don't want to call it an out-and-out failure, but it wasn't impressive.
Right.
You go from selling 100 million Wii consoles to 12 million Wii U's. And to be honest with you, you can make a lot of money on 12 million consoles if you have a really good fan base. The problem is that people just weren't buying into it. And with the arrival of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, it was done. It was done.
Yeah. And it was so, and we're going to talk about this article here, but I think this not just caught people by surprise, but it was the idea that for an American company, think Microsoft, Apple, or stuff like that, if people said that, like, let's take the Apple iPhone 4, maybe it was the 4S with the antenna problem, and it caused a lot of backlash, that one didn't sell as well, blah, blah, blah. Apple didn't go, all right, we're going to make a donut-shaped phone, and we're going to make it so that you throw it, and it's going to come back, and it's going to be amazing. Like, for an American company, they came out with the iPhone 5. For Nintendo, I'm not sure if this is, specifically Japanese, but at the same time, they didn't come out with the Wii U 2 when their platform was, kind of taking a hit. They did something very unique with the Nintendo Switch, and it pays off. I think that's what catches people is that they didn't just fix a couple of problems. They overhauled, and
Yes.
they overhauled well.
It's funny, I don't want to give Nintendo too much credit for being creative or even innovative, but the fact of the matter is the Switch is essentially just the Wii U. It's the Wii U miniaturized in new hardware. And the hardware itself wasn't even unique to Nintendo. It was basically they took NVIDIA Shield, which was a very powerful tablet console, and they reconstituted it into the Switch. So if you look at what the Switch and the Wii U were doing, they had the exact same mission statement. Play it on the TV, play it portable. It's just the Switch is a better version of it. And so, but you can also kind of tell anybody who really likes the Switch, and we all do, that, like you said, Nintendo was really caught off guard by how successful it was. This is not their best design system or their most innovative machine, but it's an evolution of an idea that whose time has come. Like you were just talking about how Twitch and streaming is the future of radio hybridization when it comes to media, right? Which I agree with you. It is. Yeah. But the same way Nintendo realized that the future is now transposable. Like we're not going to compete with smartphones. We're going to innovate in this other area. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you have the combination of three things. You have a very, very, very wanted piece of hardware matched with incredible software. And you have these two things combined with the one thing that's most important in the soup: disappointment. Disappointment that there's not enough innovation. And when you have a game like, for example, when the Switch launched last year, it had a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I don't want to get into this. I'll just say I actually finished the game this week.
Oh yeah?
Finally. I'm a year late.
It took you a year. That's very impressive.
Yeah, but I only just started playing it because I didn't have any time. I can go off and off about how innovative and how great the game is. But I've talked about this elsewhere. But the fact of the matter is it wasn't just Zelda. It's just been a never-ending stream of hit games for this system, and Nintendo is experiencing a very unique type of success that they haven't had in maybe forever. Yeah. And do you remember the Nintendo 64?
Of course, that was actually trying to think. That might have been my first game console. Was the N64?
Yeah. See, Nintendo 64 was considered a somewhat disappointing console for Nintendo. It sold upwards of like 30 million, but it produced hit after hit after hit after innovative hit of games for Nintendo. So they were able to make it work. A little less so with the GameCube. The Wii comes out, completely re-strategizes them. Failure with the Wii U. This is a company that learns from their mistakes. They don't typically make the same mistake twice. They modernize.
And then they go off and make completely new and different mistakes. Yeah. Interesting mistakes.
Well, I mean, we can talk about the Nintendo president for a second, but let me just put it this way. So everyone is talking about VR, right? We're all talking about VR. You know my feelings on VR. I don't think it's going to catch on. I don't think it has caught on. That's fine. If you out there, if you like VR, great. Send me your check. So what does Nintendo come out this week? When everyone else is doing VR, Nintendo comes out with cardboard. They come out with Nintendo Labo, a cardboard kit where you can make your own thingamabob. That's Nintendo, and that's what they do, and that's what would be missing if they were gone. With all due respect to Sony and Microsoft, who I love dearly, they're boring. They're so predictable. Hey, is VR a fad? We're going to do that. Is 3D a fad? We're going to do that. We're going to do exactly what you think we're going to do. We're going to have 4K. We're going to have HDR. Nintendo says cardboard or yarn or clay.
Yeah,
or plastic toys. It's
let's talk. Let's give a bit more of a background about Nintendo Labo, because that's something we mentioned a couple times here on the show. But I've actually found it's a pretty interesting idea where you use the parts of the Nintendo Switch, be it I won't call them nunchucks so bad, the paddles or whatever the heck Nintendo wants to call them. And
Joy-Cons.
Joy-Cons, there we go. And in various ways, you can fold up pieces of cardboard that are pre-cut, pre-indented. They come with plans. And, they're very physical. When you're talking about, a lot of these games, you talk about, a digital download. And I know that a majority of the games that I get nowadays, it just doesn't, you don't get really anything physical for it. You, of course, get your software, and that's about it. And thank you for the link, by the way. If anyone out there is watching the video portion, you can see here where one of the most, kind of iconic ones is, of course, the keyboard, the piano with about a 12 key keyboard. And, this is something that costs admittedly a lot for cardboard, but it allows you to turn your Switch into like a physical toy. And you're right, that's something that I wouldn't ever see Microsoft or PlayStation do. Like, the most they do would be to sell you something like a Kinect, but at the same time, this is different, and it's been going well. People have been responding positively to it.
Well, it's interesting because it satisfies a bunch. It satisfies a bunch of different itches. For example, just the idea of the Switch is that it's a more hands-on console. You hold it in your hands if you're playing it mobile. You're holding the Joy-Cons. There's a very tactile feel to it that's missing from the other consoles. But when you add to the idea of creation, again, this is nothing new for Nintendo. Nintendo has released accessories up the wazoo, including a robot pal back in the 80s called Rob. They've had cameras, they've had phone cards, they've had every little thing you can imagine, super scopes, whatever. But this is a little different. This, first of all, it's a pain in the butt. If you've ever seen the kits, like, no. This is why I'm a managing editor and not an editor, because I can manage other editors to do this. So we should be having a review and some podcasts about this next week. But I have one editor. Her name is Nia Bothwell. If she's listening, hi, Nia. She was on an origami kick anyway. She loves origami. And so when Labo came out, wow, what a coincidence. Here's some cardboard. Go have fun. But it gets, like you said, it gets your hands dirty. It returns a tactile feel to video games that is missing from the others. Like, the closest you get to tactile feel is when you have to hook up a new game system and you get to go behind your TV and hook up the Kinect or hook up the PlayStation Move.
You get to go play with the Dust Bunnies. Right.
Yeah, but it's always uncomfortable. This is to augment it in a way. And another box it checks is that it removes the idea that you need to go buy plastic garbage for the Switch. Do you remember the Wii? You went to the toy store, absolutely cluttered with plastic junk. You had the steering wheel, you had the tennis racket, you had all this crap that you used for one crappy game and you never use it again. So your closet was filled with junk. With cardboard, you throw it away, you recycle it, and it's pretty cool. And it also satisfies a very third important thing, which is STEM research, science, technology, engineering, and math, that you physically are learning programming tools, because it's not just the cardboard, it's software. It's teaching the mechanics of how to build something. And I got to tell you, that's fascinating to me that's a thing today. Look how goofy that looks. Look how goofy. Look at her. She's having a great time, but she looks ridiculous. Look at those. Are those sprockets? What are those things with the numbers on it? Are those? Look at that. Look at all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But first of all, if you're a parent and you're thinking about this, go with God, because this is going to be a mess. But
it's gonna be more of a bonding activity, I think, than video games have been for a long time. Since split screen kind of went by the wayside, actually being able to put these things together with your kid, that's something a bit different. So let's
I do have one more quick comment. You and I are kind of young, but the patriarch of your show, Computer America, Ben, if you talk to Craig, I'm sure Craig remembers in the 80s when Lego would release these Lego kits for the Apple IIs, and you could build Lego toys and you can control the Lego toys with your Apple II. This was back in the 80s. So this is nothing new. Like, the idea of cardboard is nothing new. Like, Google did this years ago with Google VR. Remember the cardboard thing?
Yeah.
So again, this is not Nintendo necessarily innovating in any one direction, but they're bringing it. Like, I'll tell you right now, I see you smiling. This is a lot more fun than that VR cardboard crap. This is something you'd want to play with.
But I think the thing that gets me is that they're not just making a VR kind of headset, which I think there is an option for that, but they're actually doing different things with it. It wasn't just to turn one piece of technology into the same piece of technology just kind of strapped to your face. It was, actually making a piano, a robot backpack, toys. It was for making toys, and that part is exciting. But I did want to pivot very quickly to, of course, what this all means for Nintendo, because you linked to another article where the profit jump, the fact that, we can talk about how gamers and people find it all warm and fuzzy, but what does this mean for, Nintendo kind of as a business? And it looks like it's meaning definitely good things for a business.
It's good now. This is the culmination of 2 years of strategic planning. We talked about this last year when Nintendo was doing gangbusters because of Pokemon Go, and of course the arrival of the Switch. But it's important to note that Nintendo did something they don't normally do. This is very rare for the company. They've done it like 3 times in 70 years. They have a new president. And you remember the passing of Iwata, Satoru Iwata, for cancer a few years ago.
Right.
Iwata was a very beloved figure in not just video games, but in business. He was the captain of a company that he steered out of the danger zone and into the future. But he also had a sense of humor that was not only just rare for the Japanese, but he was rare for any company. And as a result, he was beloved, and he died, and that was unfortunate. And he was replaced with a much older gentleman. What was his name? Tatsumi Kimishima, who is almost 70.
Of course.
That was near the age of the original Nintendo president Yamauchi. So the new guy they have, he's only 46, so he's getting into my territory. I think his Shuntaro Furukawa, and so this is a person who grew up in, like you said, the Famicom era, the NES era. So he's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know his personality yet. I can't picture him with a bundle of bananas and a Mario hat.
Right.
But that's what happens when you're with Nintendo. You gotta put on the suit. So
you can't just bring a business aspect to it, because I think that's we've mentioned it numerous times. That's what separates Nintendo from Sony and Microsoft, is the fact that they're willing to be a game company. They're willing to. It's going to be shocking. Have fun with video games. So let's hope that he brings that.
When so much of Silicon Valley is led by people who are not necessarily programmers or engineers, but people who are good at selling things. Like you saw this with Facebook, for example. You have a Zuckerberg, but you also have a Sheryl Sandberg. You have people from corporate. You have people who do the creation, and we've seen so many interchangeable heads. But look at Apple, for example. Apple's the best example. Apple without Steve Jobs is clearly a different company than it was with Steve Jobs. And they may sell 1 billion iPhones, but the spark is gone. And Nintendo, I would say, holistically, is the closest we have to an Apple, in that the company's still effectively run by a lot of the same DNA that helped it steward the 70s, Shigeru Miyamoto and all that. And look at this. People are talking. They're happy. They're saying, what an innovative company. So that spark is still alive at Nintendo. And I think sometimes people matter. Like we think that people are interchangeable. We have this socialist view, which, by the way, socialism is stupid. But we have this socialistic view that people are interchangeable, and they're not. Talent matters. Innovation matters. Creativity matters. And being able to exercise that creativity matters a lot. And I'm really excited to see what Nintendo does at E3 this year, coming up in June. I'm really excited because I don't know. They're not predictable.
Well, the only thing that I know that we can predict from, I don't know this 100% for sure, but a lot of people are anticipating the first Nintendo Switch exclusive, or at least the first one on this generation of console, the first Pokemon game, and what that means for Pokemon, because it's, 2 years ago, Pokemon Go swept the world, made the Pokemon Company and Niantic tons and tons of money. But at the same time, that was it was a different idea. It was interesting, but a lot of its success was, of course, due to the fact that it had Pokemon plastered all over it. What does that mean for the Nintendo Switch, kind of this year, and what interesting things can they do now?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know, and I don't think anybody does, but I was talking to our, again, mutual friend Corey, and the consensus is that as Nintendo has 2 platforms, they have, of course, the Switch, which is dominant now, and they have the 3DS, which is old. And Pokemon has always been a mobile thing. It's survived in the mobile world. And there's never been a mainstream Pokemon game on a Nintendo home console. Never been one. And if one comes to Nintendo Switch, that will technically be the first. But again, the Switch is, for all intents and purposes, a mobile machine as well.
Right.
But it's not mobile in the same way the 3DS was, or the 2DS, or the Game Boy was. So this will be interesting to see how they can manage this, because Nintendo still makes an enormous amount of money from the 3DS platform. The question is, Ben, do they have the successor to the 3DS? Are they going to run tandem platforms the way they have? Are they going to compete against themselves? No one knows. This is all new territory. But I will tell you one thing, and you can mark it in your calendar, and this will happen. I promise you. You're going to see scads of ports, just innumerous ports coming to the Nintendo Switch, whether it can handle it or not. You're going to see surprising ports. You're going to see non-surprising ports. They're going to glut that system up with garbage.
We've already seen the most unsurprising port ever, and that was the porting of Skyrim, which is already on every console in the past 7 years, came to the Switch. And it's like, like you're right. At that point, GTA 5, I think, is on the Switch, and if not, I'm sure it will be. Skyrim.
Well, to go back, Grand Theft Auto 5 is not on the Switch yet, but its parent company, Rockstar, has put L.A. Noire on the Switch. So it's very possible that it will come to the Switch. And if it does,
I have no doubt.
Yeah, you could play Grand Theft Auto in the bathroom. Think about that, people. But I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. Last word on this.
Last word.
The Switch is doing something that no previous Nintendo console has since the 90s, is that there is some evidence that people who actually play quote unquote hardcore games like yourself are getting into it. This didn't happen with the Wii, did not happen with the Wii U, did not happen with the GameCube. There's overlap, and there seems to be some evidence that hardcore gamers are playing the Switch for completely interesting reasons, which means that if you have a game like Doom or Wolfenstein 2 on the Switch, which they are coming, they will sell. They didn't do this before. They were inferior ports. So who knows what's going to happen to this system? Let's just be clear. It is not the most powerful hardware. It is not the most capable hardware. It is not the best hardware by any stretch of the imagination. Its one advantage is that it is the Switch. So
Right.
How Nintendo does that, how they function with that, who knows, Ben? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
I'm not going to be surprised if maybe not this year, because the Switch still has that new car smell to it, but in the next couple of years they're almost undoubtedly going to have to go the Xbox One S or the Xbox One X kind of route, and probably release some iterative
I thought that too. I thought
upgrades.
that too, but I don't see any evidence those are working for those consoles. So I
Not
don't
that
know
they're
this.
working. It's just that technology is going to progress, and where it may not be mandatory now, eventually people are going to demand 4K because they're going to have 4K
Well,
TVs, and
That's
why
true.
shouldn't
That
they?
that is true. But you're talking about a company that only recently went to HD 10 years later.
Right.
So
Eh,
I don't know. This
oh,
will be
yeah.
interesting. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, to see like a Switch Pro. I wouldn't. At least with a better hard drive. At least with a better hard drive. But
And at least with that flaw fix that they found this week, where you could hack and do it.
shh, don't say it because you'll encourage you know what. That's what they say.
Yes, so they say,
We
but
all know what they're talking about.
everyone,
You know.
yeah. Yeah,
So
and everyone, you're safe. Don't worry about it. So let's see. I think we have about a minute here before the next break, but let's go ahead and tease our next story. And I'll let you decide between these two, the Snap Spectacles, and we could talk about how spectacularly the Spectacles failed and why they decided
shocking.
to come out with a second one, or we can talk about Gmail, because that, the redesign is something that was leaked, was talked about, but at the same time was just kind of like, Gmail. Like, I think going into Gmail redesigns, everyone's like, Gmail will do what they will do. And then I remember the last time they redesigned, the sky fell. People panicked. There were riots in the street about Gmail changing its layout. And so when we come back, I'll let you decide, and we'll come back with that. So everyone, if you're listening, thank you so much for doing so, and thank you for tuning into Computer America, where we are talking to Popzara, Mr. Nathan Evans, who is the managing editor of the publication. So links in the show notes to everything and anything. And hey, in the meantime, you can find more at computeramerica.com. We'll be right back. More right after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. We are 32 minutes past the hour, and before we continue on, Nathan, let us pick a winner for our Computer America contest. So let's see if I actually still have this going. This week's winner is... All right, hey, check that out. That kind of works. So yeah, we're gonna let that roll. So this week's winner is... Draw the winner, and no, we just want to draw 1, not 9. And this week's winner of the Computer America contest, brought to you by Logitech, is Mr. Matt Yukna. And all you had to do was visit Computer America on Google+. Yes, that's still a thing. Yes, you can still get a contest entry for it. No, Google, don't shut it down quite yet, because Matt Yukna, he is this week's winner. And listens to us in Washington, D.C. So, yep, there you have it. And that was super easy. So we're going to get in touch with him after the program. He has a profile picture of Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Whatever. Anyway, so that aside, Matt, thank you so much for tuning in, or thank you for listening. Thank you for entering. And if you're listening, congratulations. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and continue? So before the break, we talked all things Nintendo. After the break, we're going to move on to one of these two stories about either Snapchat or Gmail. So Nate, I'll let you decide.
Well, I'll be honest with you, in full disclosure, I actually just enabled the new Gmail while you were on the break.
Really? I need to do that. But
Yep.
wow,
Yep.
You just jumped right in.
Yeah, I'm always screwing things up. So why not? I mean, if you're going to go swimming, jump in the deep end. But if you don't survive, well, it was nice knowing you. So
that's a good outlook. I like that.
Google's rolling out a good a new, usually redesigned, reconstituted version of Gmail for the first time in years. And like you said, anytime they change something, people have conniptions, myself included. So in order to do it now, do you use Gmail?
I do, of course. Like everyone who doesn't use Gmail, I found in my life, anyone who doesn't use Gmail is simply using Yahoo because they're too lazy to switch to Gmail.
Well, I've noticed there's three different types, and if you fall outside the purview of these three different types, then you are what's called an anomaly. You are not regular. So there's Gmail users. There's, like you said, Gmail users tend to be the more sophisticated ones. They typically are comfortable with computer stuff. What are you looking at?
Oh, nothing. Go ahead. So
Look at that. Look at now. How can I concentrate? No,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
then there's Yahoo people who either are not sophisticated or don't care about security and like to use bad software. And increasingly, there's people who use Outlook. People who are sophisticated but just don't want to become part of the Gmail family. Basically, they're like the libertarians of computer users. Like, they know enough to know what they don't like, but they still don't like being in the Google machine. And they think somehow being in the Microsoft machine is better. It's not. In a lot of ways, it's worse. But also, full disclosure, and I do use Gmail, but I don't use the Gmail app. I use Gmail on Outlook. I use Gmail with third-party software. And so I almost never use the web app. I find it a mess. I find it disorganized chaos. I do not feel it's user-friendly. I feel sometimes it works against the needs of the user.
So question.
Yeah.
That means that when you just decided to upgrade just now, you made a big show of it, how you like to mess things up. In reality, what really changes for you if you're using Outlook?
From what I understand, nothing at first, but I'm going to have to wait because one of the big upgrades, so to speak, in the new thing is that Google's now getting the implementation of called oh goodness gracious, let me make sure I have my notes right. Integrated Rights Management, IRM, where basically you have more microbial control over what your messages do. For example, your patriarch Craig Crossman, hey Craig, I know you're listening, loves to require all his messages to have send me a note that you got this. And I'm like, okay, Craig, I'll do it just for you because I like you. But that way the sender can say if they got it. You don't necessarily need to do that, but programs like Outlook and Microsoft Exchange allow you to have all sorts of these goodies from years ago that you can control what you want to do with your messages. And Gmail now has that too. They're implementing two-factor authentication, which makes it's supposed to make you safer, but it makes everything more annoying. Let's be honest.
Well, that's what security is, and we've said this ad nauseum on the show. But if something is more secure, it's in a lot of ways it's harder to use.
I don't like using the word secure. I like using the perception of security because we don't know, because it puts a barrier between you and your content. And I think the concept is if that barrier is annoying enough, then people won't bother. We had 10 years ago, you had somebody quote unquote hacking then vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin's email because he guessed what street she grew up on.
Right.
And that wasn't hacking, that was guessing.
Well, that's called social engineering. It's what happened with the entire Apple cloud, where all the celebrities had their pictures released. That was the exact same thing where it was just weak security questions that anyone could Google a person and find information that was readily available. And it's a form of hacking, but it's kind of like DDoS. It's not exactly complex.
Exactly. It's hacking in the terms of you can use bacon grease to cook, steak.
Right.
That's a hack.
Life hack.
But there's lots of I would caution everyone before they jump in like me to go and look at the new features. A lot of it seems to be security based, although I will say the interface has definitely gotten a splash more impressive. My biggest problem with Gmail is that it uses that design language that you can use things if you know what those things are. And for example, one of the problems I have with the Gmail app on the web is that it auto hides subjects. And it makes adding CCs very difficult. You have to expand menus. Why do you have to expand the subject? Why should you have to expand that? I can't get a visual of my email. I can't plan my email if I don't know what's in it. So to have to go ahead and click all these buttons to expand it, whereas on other design elements, you have to expand tasks, you have to expand calendars. The new design is very, very similar to Outlook in that you have these new rows. I don't know. Do you use Outlook at all?
No, I don't.
Or Thunderbird or anything?
But yeah. Go ahead.
I love it. But although to be honest with you, Outlook has a crappy interface too. But Google's email seems to be crappy. It's got what I call the engineer's ego. For example, anybody who's ever used Linux, if you've talked to Linux people God bless Linux people. They're the salt of the earth, but they're also annoying. And
By
if
the
you
way,
ever talk to
everyone,
Linux
Computer
people,
America,
I
every
know, I know
third
you're
Thursday
big
of
on
the
the
month.
Linux community. You guys love the kernels.
Yes,
but
and by the way, every third Thursday of the month, we have Marcel Gagne, Cooking with Linux, and we have an
okay,
all Linux show.
Linux,
So
Linux, you guys, we know the internet's run on the Linux backbone. We know this. You are the champion. At the end, you're basically the internet's version of preppers. We know this.
I consider
So
them the dwarves of the internet. They're underneath everything pretty, and
yeah,
you know,
they keep everything running. They
right.
really do. So, but 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 when you ask, if you ask a Linux person, how do you fix something on Linux? Like, oh, it's so easy. Just open up terminal and type in code. No, no, that is not easy. That's
All
the
you gotta do is
opposite of
access the
easy.
shell and put yourself in administrative mode, and then type in 18
So
codes,
simple.
and next thing you know, you're playing a video game. That's great. It's like, oh,
Yeah, it's like they failed when they say, oh, it's easy to run the program. Just download Wine, and oh no, you know what you do? You get Windows. That's how you fix it. But no, I mean it's a cleaner interface, and I'll give them props for those people that actually use this. I'm wondering how many people actually use this interface and they just use the phone and tablet interface, which I don't think is affected. I will say this though, my final thoughts. A couple years ago, my Gmail, Google did this thing called Inbox, which is an opt-in experiment to sort of automate a lot of the processes of Inbox. What garbage! It never went full because this was years ago when they thought we're going to have AI sort of intelligently decide what you do and how to respond. Like, why even have email if you're going to have a computer answer it for you? Just get a maid. It's cheaper. Just buy a maid.
well, and I think Gmail does a lot right. I remember the last time that they changed their interface, or they changed some of the stuff behind the scenes. I think what Google does is very impressive, and I do like the fact that they don't exactly crawl your email anymore, because they said, it was just more troublesome than it was worth. So I mean, I don't think that it's Google's.
I think they
bread
crawl.
and
I
butter.
do think they still. I think they still crawl, but they do it differently. I think they use. AI to intelligently decipher the context of the message.
I
Because
think that they took that out completely. They took it out completely because they were having.
it's in here. It's in here. Like, one of the things the new Gmail adds is context sensitive replies. For example, I have an email from a person I talk with on another podcast.
No. I meant for ads and for targeted advertising. They took that out, but they are still using AI to help you manage your emails. Correct. Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't trust them. I don't trust that a big data company that makes all its money on data collection would be benevolent enough to say, well, we'll scan your email, but only for replies. I'm sorry. I don't trust any of them. Nobody does. There's no accountability. Think about this.
Your sense.
If something,
Go ahead.
hey, if something goes wrong on your Gmail, who do you call?
Oh, no one. You put a ticket in.
Exactly. There's no accountability for this sort of thing. This is a clandestine company that operates under a very, very Byzantine array of different associations. So no, I don't trust Google at all. But because I don't trust them, I trust them. Like, I know what I'm getting into. I'm not going to go surfing in Australia and not expect to get bitten by a shark. If I get bitten by a shark, it's my own damn fault.
It's
Seriously.
it's just one of those things where people freaked out when Google changed their terms of service from "do no evil" to "do the right thing," but at the same time, they still run. They still probably secretly shadow government the entire world. So we're gonna have to see what that is. But in the meantime, Gmail gets an overdue, a long overdue redesign.
Long awaited, by the way. It seems like at the very minimum, Ben, it seems like a very nice visual overall. I find it very attractive. I kind of like the way it looks now.
You know what? And by the way, Lady Terror in the chat room, she's completely right. The box jellyfish is by far the bigger killer in Australia. So the sharks, the sharks are finless and they are sad. Don't pick on the sharks.
Tell Lady Killer I said hello, and I expect her reviews to be done on time. That's Nia. Hi, Nia.
There you go, cracking the whip. I like that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and switch topics, because I think we have time to squeeze a couple of these in.
Sure.
Let's talk about, just real quick, like 5 minutes tops, on the Snap spectacles. For everyone out there who is unfamiliar, the spectacles, they were goofy, hipster-looking glasses that Snap tried to sell to people, and I believe they are currently occupying space in a warehouse somewhere. That was the version 1. The version 2 are now out, and they're more expensive, can supposedly do more stuff, and I think there hasn't been some kind of resurgence in the niche that they were trying to fill. Like the customer base, I don't think has massively grown. So again, your comments on why they did this.
Okay, why? Because of R&D. They probably had a lot of money invested in at least 2-3 generations of this. This is one of those things where, long story short, Snap is a company that was supposed to be one of the saviors of social media IPOs on, when it comes to the stock market. They've had a very tough time trying to be profitable. They, like you said, they've suffered design changes that have caused the user base to sort of rebel. They don't make any money. And what we talked about before, how these tech companies sort of follow a blueprint. They don't innovate. This is Snap. Snap is probably the least influential company, the least innovative company that I've ever seen in my life.
Ouch.
And they do well because of this, because they steal ideas from everyone else. That's not a bad way to go, but they're stealing bad ideas. And so Facebook tried this, Google tried this, all this tried this. There doesn't seem to be a market for this sort of thing. And you're reading The Verge. Do me a favor. You want to see why this is going to fail? Scroll down a little bit. Let your viewers see this. Keep going. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. Look at that. That's why it's going to go back up. That's why it's going to fail. Look at that guy waving. See that guy?
He looks, and for everyone out there just listening to the show, it's a gentleman with a stylish haircut, a great suit, and my goodness, the ugliest glasses you've ever seen.
It's just ugly, because the first thing about fashion is they have to be fashionable. And when you have the geek crowd, who by and large are not fashion trendsetters, trying to do wearables that look like this, they're going to fail. My goodness, is nobody at this company doing this? Like, there's a reason why the highest paid person at Apple, is a female from the fashion industry. There's a reason for that. Like, this is why they fail. They look stupid. And they have no purpose.
I mean, difference of opinions. There are people out there currently looking at these and going, they're not half bad. And it's
you're gonna buy them though for $100?
But it has to be that mix of the people who are actually going to use them and the people who actually like them. I'm not saying that they have to be perfect for everyone, but maybe you and I are just the wrong kind of user base for it. But do you think the ones that will actually use them?
We're not the wrong user base. There is no user base for this. The first generation failed. The second generation is going to fail, and it's going to fail until they realize is that they need to, in order for these things to hit, Ben, they can't just appeal to a fringe group. That's not how these products work. They have to appeal to the mainstream. And they have to offer mainstream applies. It's the cell phone all over again. You had one of the reasons the iPhone succeeded, whereas all the other ones did not the way they did. It's because they kept things simple. And that's why you hear the existing tech community, it's too simple, it's too childish, it looks plain. Yeah, it looks normal. And you build up an audience of normal people who are your base, and then you can innovate and do geeky designs like Buddy Holly designs and everything. But if you want to make money, you have to sell to the largest single demographic out there, which is normal people. And people like Snap. There's 3 basic groups that like Snap: teenagers looking for sex, and adults looking for sex. That's it. And it's a celebrity-based program where, like Facebook, there's targeted marketing for celebrities, and that's totally cool. A lot of normal people like using Snapchat. These glasses are not for them. These glasses are for people that cover tech news, because they're getting feedback from tech. This is not the crap that normal kids like. Normal kids look at this and say, ew, I'm not going to wear that.
It's weird because there is a subset, working in media recently for some of these larger events that we go to, think E3, CES, what have you. They've, probably in the past 2, 3, 4 years, they've added the option of influencer. No longer are you a journalist, no longer are you a reviewer. You are
they just call you what you are. Yeah.
Right, an influencer. And my point there is that, like I feel like these glasses would be marketed to influencers, but the point of an influencer is that you can only have one for every couple hundred or a couple thousand, again, depending on the fan base. But, you're not going to have that mass appeal like you were talking about. An influencer is by definition one out of thousands. And I feel like they're marketing a product to one of thousands instead of a product towards everyone
that's
else.
that's very insightful. It's what Warren Buffett. I like to quote Berkshire Hathaway's Warren Buffett: "First come the innovators, then come the imitators, and then come the idiots." And what Snapchat is doing is Snapchat is a imitator that is attempting to infiltrate an imitator market, as opposed to an innovator market, which would be like a Facebook to some extent or an Apple. And you can't do it this way, because the whole purpose of their existence depends on the innovation of an innovator company. Again, this is something Google tried, but Google tried haphazardly. You'll notice Apple never gets into this business. Microsoft never gets into this business. A lot of these companies don't get into this because they recognize that there's no real market for it outside of the extreme. There's a reason why VR glasses cost $800, right? Because it's not a mainstream market product. There's a reason why a fidget spinner costs $3, because it appeals to a mainstream. There's a reason why fidget spinners go away, and there's a reason why VR goes away. You need to come to that middle, and you need to find just the right amount. You need to start marketing this stuff to well, actually, you know what? I take that back. A month or two ago, we talked about one of the Kardashians said something disparagingly about Snap, and their stock fell like $1 billion.
I remember that. Yeah.
They should be coordinating with people like the Kardashians. I hate to say it. They should be coordinating with the people that actually influence the Snap community and getting their opinions. And I guarantee you, this crap would have never made it past the prototyping phase because they look ridiculous. You have to get glasses that people like to wear. No one wants to go out there looking like Devo from the 1980s.
Well, and one thing that I will give them credit for is that the glasses, while they do look ridiculous to you and I will say that the glasses, at least they're friendlier looking, and I use that term because I don't know a better term for it. They're friendlier looking
I know what you're going to say.
Google.
They look better than Google Glass.
Right, and it freaked people out. I remember seeing those videos of people who were saying, "Hey, don't film me," and of course they're being filmed, but they're like, "What? We're in public." People got aggressive towards the idea of a video camera on your face recording people willy-nilly. These I don't think have that problem, but they also have a marketability problem where, it's not going to have that.
Well, here's the thing: there are laws that saying that in order to film somebody, they have to be known they're being filmed, even in a public space. And the Google glasses, they look stupid, but they kind of at least had that sci-fi Geordie LaForge look. They had some appeal to Star Trekkers or Trekkies. These could be the greatest thing in the world. They could be the most innovative thing in the world. They could be all the things they want in the world. But if people are too embarrassed to wear them in public, then they're going to fail. And I don't understand why they don't partner with Ray-Ban or they don't partner with any of these other major brands and say, you know what, we need help, guys. We need some style. Can you give us some style?
I can tell you that. I can kind of tell you right now. It's it's the fact that they lost $720 million last year. I know that startups, including Snapchat, run on dump trucks full of flaming money, but I know that they were trying to do this in house. It's just maybe they're. I don't know. All right. You know what? I really don't know much about that.
No. Exactly. We don't know. I'll just tell you this. Nobody knows, Ben. And I'll tell you what, though. When you see the first one of these glasses that succeeds, you will know it.
Probably.
We won't be having this conversation about why can't they make glasses that don't look like clown glasses.
Hopefully, it's that moment like when you saw the first iPhone where you're like, wow, okay, I get it. And right now, I don't see that with the glasses.
No.
So, hey, maybe that happens. All right.
Hey,
so
it's other people's money, so what does it matter? Right?
Yeah, but we get to critique it. That's a lot of fun. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and switch one more time. I think we have like 5 minutes left. Let's talk about, you know what? Forget this. It's Friday, movie night. I'm sure. Let's see. I have friends who live way overseas where, they're I'm sure that when you go online and you randomly come across spoilers, they're from places overseas because they kind of get the movies first. Avengers: Infinity War. Now, I have not seen it. I have read 0 spoilers. So, Nathan, if you spoil this, I will hunt you down.
I haven't seen it.
What?
I haven't seen it. My site has seen it. I had an editor who attended a Disney screening. She saw it and she loved it.
Well, then that's great. So let's talk a little bit about Avengers: Infinity War. And I mean, if nothing else, let's just hype this up a bit because they haven't had enough free marketing. Are you excited for Infinity War?
I don't see a little Disney logo in your little advertisement bar up top. But so here we go. We'll give the Mouse House some free money. So so the Avengers Infinity War. It's not the Avengers, people. It's Avengers Infinity War.
Right.
10 years in the making. Crams every single superhero from the Marvel Universe that hasn't died or been resurrected into one giant movie. Following the smashing success of Black Panther, they're in a very good spot. And it almost makes me depressed. I see. But they're not paying you. That's the difference.
No, of course not.
Not yet. But no, it's. I almost feel bad for the DC universe and fans because the way their characters have been so mishandled, whereas Marvel has just been almost perfection. And you may not love the movies. You may think the movies are boring. You may think the movies are stale. But damn, do they know how to market them? Do they know how to give people what they want? People always say, "What is this generation of Star Wars?" And I was almost going to say, well, it's Star Wars, but clearly it's the Marvel movies because people genuinely love these things. Like, you know what you're getting. You're getting basically a television show in the theaters with big budgets, fun characters, decent writing, lots of special effects, quippy one-liners, Stan Lee in every damn movie. People like this formula so much. They like this formula a lot.
Yeah, it's very interesting that a movie like I guess when I think it was like the first Iron Man, it was a little tidbit I heard, 0 fact checking, so this is good media, and I think that the head of the department for whoever did Iron Man was fired because he approved way too much money to go to the first Iron Man. He approved something like $130 million. And they thought that, no way would they recoup the costs. They canned him. They said, how dare you that, and, it earned all that money and then some. And now we're looking, I'm sure this thing had a budget of somewhere near $400 million when you roll in advertising. And my goodness, it seems like they found a formula that no matter how much money they pump in, no matter how unrealistic compared to every other endeavor, maybe other than Avatar, they find a way to get their money back and then some, and the people have fun with it. I think it's a cool formula.
It is so tweaked to perfection that I wonder when it's not going to work anymore. I'm almost curious, like, what's going to be the first one that doesn't hit? Like, they say the same thing about the Star Wars films, right? When's the first Star Wars film? By the way, both Disney. That's not going to become a huge hit, and it doesn't seem possible at this point. But it's going to happen at some point. We're going to be exhausted. But we keep saying that, but we keep seeing them. We keep seeing them. And in the case of Black Panther, even more so, the movie took on a sort of revolutionary tinge, especially with Black Americans who felt it was the next coming of Martin Luther King Jr. And that's so unusual that, to have that type of thing on top of this already. And of course, it's going to break box office records.
Maybe not that it was a revolution. It's just that it was one of the first movies to resonate with an audience on that kind of level. I don't want to say that it upended Black History Month. It was just one that again captured that audience.
It's let's just say it now, they're going to rename Black History Month into Black Panther Month.
That would be
long live Wakanda. It'll happen.
That would have such better CGI than our current one. But with that being said, everyone, the music means that we're just about done here. And one last time, Nate, if you would, talk about Popzara, what people can find there, and how to get there.
Well, right now you can find a review for Avengers Infinity War and all sorts of video game stuff for the weekend. So go see that. Popzara.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on all that stuff. And we're here with Ben every single month at the end of the month because who else is going to blow you out?
There you go. So, very well said, and maybe wrong terminology, but hey, we started the show that way. Let's go ahead and end it that way. So, everyone, there we go. That's all we have. And if you miss any part of today's show, feel free to check us out wherever podcasts are heard. And in the meantime, thank you for joining us live. And hey, again, thank you to our winner. We will be contacting them after the show to get their prize out to them. Thank you, Logitech. In the meantime, everyone, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Catch us Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern here on the program. And until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.